It's been 114 days since the Mary Cain story broke. And in that time, I've taken a break from the brand that I have loved. It's a break that I, as a fan of running, have needed. I have loved this brand since I was my daughter's age. But somehow, between then and now, what I saw in Nike has changed. Nike stopped being about excellence in sport, and it started being about winning. Winning became more important than the athletes. Winning became more important than the rules. But winning felt good, and winning felt like success. But with the Mary Cain story, and with the Alberto Salazar story, and with former CEO Mark Parker's involvement, and with how they've treated female athletes like Alyson Felix, I couldn't gloss over the way this business was conducting itself. And so, I took a break. And in that time, a lot has happened. Alberto Salazar is out. His Oregon project has been shut down. Shalane Flanagan is now in a coaching role with the Bowerman Track Club. Nike has announced the Nike LA 13.1, a race dedicated to keeping girls in sport. And Nike has completed its investigation into the Mary Cain situation, although it hasn't actually released its findings or even a formal press release, but at least it has been emailing someone about it. Now, I don't necessarily need to rub Nike's nose in its prior bad behavior. What I need is to understand what Nike is going to do going forward. In the last 114 days, Nike has announced a new CEO, and Nike has released their fiscal year 2019 impact report. In that report, Nike talked about how it invested $81 million that year to drive impact in communities, something that I have seen firsthand. And it talked about initiatives in reducing carbon footprint and improving labor conditions.
And these are all great things, commendable things. But these aren't things that feel like they're in response to the recent events that gave me pause.
In that report, we also heard from the new CEO, who told us that Nike exists to progress sport. But in recent years, Nike also has faced a broader challenge to help protect sport itself. And so perhaps then, the biggest challenge that Nike faces is Nike itself. Nike has the biggest market share and has used that to dominate the sponsorships. Nike money controls the athletes. Nike money controls the very organizations that host the athletic competitions themselves. When Nike wants to speak, it knows how to be heard. When Nike wants to make change, it knows how to affect it. But whatever Nike wants to accomplish, it does so through its money. And that money comes from us, the regular, everyday, non-elite masses. I am not a talented runner, nor a skilled runner, and frankly, I'm likely underachieving to what little potential I do have. But I have a voice, and that voice carries, even if sometimes it feels like I'm screaming in the wind. And so for 114 days, I stayed away from the brand. I wore no emblems and reviewed none of their shoes. And it was fine. I'm not sure anyone at Nike even noticed. And I'm sure it made no dent in their bottom line. But I have a voice, and I hope that that voice will carry. 114 days is a long time. And as that arbitrary marker approached, I tried on a new pair of Nike shoes. It's a quirky shoe. I liked it a lot. I felt good in it. Nike makes good shoes. But this isn't about whether the shoes are good. I thought that maybe I could be two people, like the journalists of old, the Walter Cronkites, who could separate the reporter of facts from the person with opinions. A journalist who could stay unbiased even though they had their own thoughts and opinions. But I don't have that kind of training or discipline. I'm not sure anyone ever really did. But it was a nice fiction, and I thought maybe I could have that fiction. It would make me feel better. Could I have Kofuzi, the shoe reviewer, who gives the people what they want, and then have Mike Coe, who might choose to race in anything but Nike? I'm still thinking that might be a potential win-win. But I'm also not sure I'm willing to pay the price to win like that. I think I am but one person, reviewer and running fan. The two are inseparable. Nike has referred to me and people like me as embedded media. And just as I would hope an embedded war journalist would use their voice to decry the ugliness of the experience, no matter how much other good the soldiers might have performed, similarly, I must use my voice. I hope to one day return to running in Nike gear. It is still my favorite brand. But for now, splitting myself into two people, reviewer and fan, only dilutes my voice. And that is a price I am not willing to pay.